Now introducing Axios business editor Dan Primack.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Our next guest comes to us from Austin, Texas. He has been CEO of Whole Foods Market since last fall. Please help me welcome Jason Buechel. Good to see you.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Jason. So we have a lot to talk about here, from technology to retail, et cetera. The first question, though, I want to talk about the news of the day, the news of the last 24 hours. When will Whole Foods start selling woolly mammoth meatballs, and how do you best prepare them?
No determined time frame.
Is an extinct species considered a whole food, or is that just kind of a gray area?
Well, it probably doesn't meet our quality standards at the current moment, so that would be the first step in bringing it into the store. So no definitive dates right now.
All right, I'll take that as a TBD. So Jason, you had been at Whole Foods, but you take over as CEO late last year from kind of an iconic co-founding CEO in John Mackey. And when this opportunity comes about, can you tell me maybe the one thing you wanted to make sure you kind of maintained as a manager or CEO of Whole Foods, and then maybe one thing you'd been chomping at the bit to change a little bit?
Well, I mean, there's many things that I think were important to keep in place. The culture of our company is so important to how we operate. Ultimately, it helps serve all of our stakeholders. For our team members, it helps create a place that they love to work. For our customers, it's a place that they can come and shop and they love to experience. For our suppliers, they love the win-win partnerships that we help bring to bear. For our communities, they love the way that we're able to serve and support them. And the environment as well, and continuing to support those efforts. So for me, keeping sort of the culture, our core values, and our higher purpose in place, and our higher purpose is to nourish people on the planet, was just paramount. It was so important that we not make change there. And in fact, one of the things that I've been trying to do is help reignite the connection to our higher purpose and our core values. During the pandemic, there was a lot of friction and challenges going on, and I felt it was really important that our team members feel that connection alive and well. As far as things that we're changing, one of the things that we're going to be doing going forward is each quarter we're actually sharing out a way that we're going to support our higher purpose with our team members. And we're taking long-standing goals to keep us all connected to the fact that we're more than just a grocer.
What's an example? What's a new goal?
Reducing our food waste by 50%.
By when?
By 2030. And a big part of, as we look at the entire supply chain, is there's so much opportunities. And so we're trying to find win-win-wins where we can ultimately cut less waste. So obviously from a business perspective, there's, investment that goes into that. From a supplier perspective, less waste that they're seeing on their side as well. We're also able to make sure that the food that's not consumed by our customers can still be used and donated and either consumed by people who have food insecurities, or we can find better ways to divert that. And so that's something that is really important for us, and our team members are also really passionate about. So it's great to bring programs like that to bear.
You talk about the higher purpose. The reputation of Whole Foods historically, we'll talk about money later, but the reputation of Whole Foods from a consumer standpoint for a long time was, if I'm somebody who wants organics or if I want better for you food, Whole Foods is kind of, in a lot of cases, my only option. Yep. That's obviously now something that's kind of expanded throughout the grocery chain. And if I've got 4 supermarkets, in general, I can get organics for most products kind of anywhere. So how right now, from your perspective, in an area where there are multiple grocers, does Whole Foods differentiate? Why does someone walk in the door of a Whole Foods as opposed to grocery store X?
Well, the first reason is our quality standards. So we have the highest quality standards across the grocery industry for a national chain here in the United States. And for us, it's about making sure that we're continuing to elevate that. So one of the things I always tell folks is, one of the ways that we're defined is by what we don't sell. And whether that's, food products that you're buying to body care products, our standards ultimately create that differentiation. We like to do the homework for our customers so they don't have to do it themselves. And I've not seen anybody else even come close to the level of where we're at from that perspective. Additionally, we're continuing to elevate the bar, as I mentioned. So regenerative agriculture is something that is really important to us as Whole Foods. Not only is it important for our broader ecosystems, and ultimately we want to be able to serve and support customers for decades and decades to come, and regenerative is going to be a big part of making sure that our food supplies are intact over that time frame. We also find that there's great benefits from the product itself and our customers wanting to buy that product from the quality perspective.
Can I ask on the product side, and when you talk about your standards, there's an entire industry being created now, kind of alternative proteins, even alternative other things, alternative seafood, you guys sell some of that in your store. How do you view the future of that in terms of keeping with Whole Foods? And I guess I'm curious, Walter Robb, who's a former co-CEO, I remember asking him just offhand once what he thought about Beyond Meat, and he said, I think it's a good idea, but I've never tried it. And I said, why have you never tried it? He said, well, it's not a whole food, but you guys do sell it.
We do. Well, one of the things that we do with any of those products, they first have to meet our quality standards. And certain products, I think part of it comes down to what is the customer looking for? I personally, in that case, I'd actually eat, regular meat. I think from a overall quality of the product and, for when I look at the overall nutritional value, I look at it as like, I'd rather just have the real thing. But all customers have to make choices. So customers who may want to avoid that animal protein for many different reasons may choose to do so based upon their own personal preferences. But one of the things that we'll continue to do is look at food innovation and determine where it makes sense for products to come into our stores.
Do you believe
the first gate is the quality standards?
Do you believe in 5-10 years that when I go to a seafood counter, whether it be at a Whole Foods, to be honest, or maybe another supermarket, when I go to a seafood counter or a meat counter, that there's going to be a significant percentage of stuff that's not actually coming from the sea or from a farm?
I think it's hard to say at this point. It's going to determine how these producers can ultimately make those practices sustainable, keeping them natural. And I think we have to look at what the costs are going to be in ultimately bringing those products to market. And I think a big part is also what do consumers think of this? And if there's areas that those can be addressed, that may be a potential. But right now, I don't see a path to that.
One of the other things about kind of the experience of Whole Foods, which I think is changing a bit, is the technological piece of it. People don't generally think of supermarket, I guess the scanner, that was a big technology in like 1982, and we were all very excited about it. Amazon obviously has owned Whole Foods for a little over 5 years now, I think, right? Something
Correct.
like that. So a bunch of people ask me to ask you this. When I shop at a Whole Foods, whether I do it online or whether I physically go in and I buy the things I buy, how much data does Amazon get about me, and how much data that Amazon already has about me does Whole Foods get to inform how it sells to me?
Yeah, I would say that there is not a great deal that is different than what you have in a sort of the traditional marketplace as far as how companies look at different aggregate levels of transactions and different buying behaviors that may happen from that perspective. Ultimately, I think over time, there's opportunities to further kind of integrate and help make those things seamless. But our focus is to make sure that we're doing things that help a great customer experience. And so when I look at, when you come to our store, we have the ability for you to be able to identify as Prime, to be able to get, great promotions, the very best deals in our store that day. You have the ability to do returns.
People, by the way, complain about that because the Prime promotions at Whole Foods seem to have gone down, not in number, but in value. Am I wrong about that? Because it feels like they've gone down in value.
Yeah, they actually haven't gone down in value. I think part of it is there's different offerings that take place. So there are Prime member exclusive deals as well as sales, and then our Prime members get an additional 10% off. But I would say that the value overall as far as what customers are saving holistically is not going down.
When it comes to technology, I know you guys are, and tell me if there's more than this, there seems to be two major initiatives right now. One is kind of truly contactless checkout. Basically you got cameras everywhere. You see what I buy and I walk out and then my credit card or whatever gets charged. You have smart carts, which can tell what is going into my cart. Are those the main two? And and kind of talk to me a little bit about the rollout and kind of how you view a Whole Foods store a typical Whole Foods store in 10 years from now in terms of the actual shopper experience when it comes to, me not having to wait in a line?
Yeah, that's great. As you mentioned, we've got a couple of different concepts that are out there right now. We have 2 stores which are just walk out. And so we've taken basically our entire offering and made it available in the stores. One here is actually in the Glover Park neighborhood in DC. And what that allows for customers to do is be able to shop and seamlessly grab whatever they want, put it in their own bag, their purse, their pocket, and walk out. And I think that creates great convenience for the customer. One of the things that we have to work through is how do we continue to make sure that that experience is the same of everything you can have in a store, and ultimately that we are ready to scale that. And that's something that we are working through.
What's the biggest challenge you've had with that?
Well, in our stores, today we merchandise stuff all the time and moving it around. And ultimately you have to put a lot more rigor in place with a solution like that. So we've been identifying ways to help make that experience easier and better, both for our team members and our customers. We also have a number of stores that have our Amazon Dash carts, 3 of those stores. And what that's been great for is customers who are doing a big shop who want to be able to seamlessly walk through the store and still have sort of their traditional experience, but at the end of the day, don't have to go through the point of sale checkout line. It's just been a great win as well. And so when you ask sort of the future in 10 years, I see sort of a hybrid that takes place. We're going to want to make sure that we provide all the options that our customers are looking for over any given period of time.
But do you expect you're still going to have, for lack of a better term, cashiers?
Yeah,
you do. In 10 years, human cashiers.
I do. And I think from the standpoint of there's some customers who want that experience. And so part of what we'll have to do is look at how do we find ways to create all the different options that customers can shop our stores. In the fully, for lack of a better term, in the automated stores, the 2 you have, say, in Glover Park, how much do you know about me when I'm shopping? In other words, so you obviously know that when I take the tomato sauce off the shelf that I'm buying it, I put it in my bag or in a cart. Do you know what the other 3 tomato sauces I looked at and didn't buy? No, and we don't actually. Will you? And we actually don't have any of that tracked personally for you at your level. So that's something I think sometimes folks try to tell themselves a story that's. But if not personally about me, but is there technology where you're looking and saying, wow, people keep looking at this product and then not grabbing it? Maybe it's a Whole Foods 360 product. Maybe we have to change the packaging. There's a reason everybody's looking. Is that stuff you're tracking or no? No, it's not. Do you want it to be? I think that there's the potential in the future that may be something that's considered, but right now that's not really the priority of how we're looking to use the technology. It's our goal here is to how to just continue to make things seamless and easy for customers, and so the investments are going in ways in how can we scale this solution versus how do we collect more data. Amazon itself has grocery, both online, also now they've, at least in Massachusetts where I live, they have a bunch of stores they've built, and for reasons that maybe they have not opened. They just sit there and people take pictures of them. Is it weird to compete with your own company for the same customers and the same products? We're actually not competing at all. I sort of look at it as we're siblings in a household. Siblings compete constantly. Yes. But we're very friendly siblings, so we have no competition going on. But ultimately, we get to share a lot of the same things between each other and help support the growth on both sides, and whether that be technology that we can use or other resources. And our goal is to make sure that we can continue to serve both of our customer bases, which we play a very big spectrum across grocery. Our core customer is coming in because of the quality standards that I mentioned earlier. And Amazon Fresh provides a much broader selection, including national brands that we don't carry at Whole Foods Market. So I look at it as not competing, but instead we're focused on different parts within the food spectrum. Whole Foods in every grocer, but Whole Foods in part with its Amazon partnership, you obviously increase the ability of people to shop remotely or shop online and get delivery to the house. When it comes to grocery, you guys killed your deal with Instacart. But I'm curious, am I correct in assuming that the average bill from somebody who does grocery shopping online is smaller than the average bill of someone who goes in the store? You guys focus a lot, arguably on impulse buys, not candy bars at the counter, but oh, look at that cheese. I assume that kind of disappears a lot. I know you can try to pitch things to people online, but it's not the same experience. It really depends. Some customers. Is your average online spend lower than your average in-person spend? We actually don't share publicly sort of what that looks like, but I would say there's not a universal answer. You've got some customers who are doing, very large purchases online because they want to do a big pantry load, as an example. In store, we've got a lot of customers who come in for immediate consumption of food. So they're coming in at lunch rush or for dinner just to grab something from the salad bar. So you've got sort of a wide variety of shopping behaviors. So there's not a really hard and fast rule that one of those experiences is always going to have more items or what have you. In grocery as a whole, kind of the big business story right now is the Kroger-Albertsons merger, the prospective Kroger-Albertsons merger. There's antitrust questions about it. If that goes through, how do you view that impacting your business, and does that make you feel you need to get more acquisitive? Well, one of the things that I sort of look at is our customers and sort of what they're looking from Whole Foods Market. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I don't see anybody sort of playing in the same space that we are with the quality standards that we have. And so customers are coming for the fact that we've done the homework for them, and there's a differentiated assortment that they're not going to find. And whether that's because of our quality standards or the 365 and Whole Foods Market branded products that we carry. And so our focus is really not what the competition is doing and what may happen there, but how do we just continue to serve our customer, creating an amazing experience and grow from there.
Although, the potential antitrust concerns on that are not just on supplier contracts, which is, but it's also obviously on price. I mean, do you feel that if that merger goes through, prices rise, and that arguably helps you?
I would not say that.
Should that merger go through?
I actually don't want to comment on that.
Fair enough. Can I ask, you've talked a lot about kind of better for you, or kind of the standards you have. One of the other reputations Whole Foods has had historically is for having local products. In fact, my products in Massachusetts are different than the one, here. How much, where does the decision on that lie? It used to be with regional managers. Is it still at the regional level? Is it with the local stores? Kind of, how much autonomy, I guess I'd say, do local store managers have in terms of purchasing and in terms of merchandising and where things go?
Yeah, so our local store team leaders haven't made assortment decisions, for almost probably 2 decades at this point. So I know sometimes folks think that that's decided or has been recently decided at the store level. What we have is local foragers, so folks who are based across the country and working both with suppliers and our stores to identify products that we want to be able to bring in. And what's great about that is these foragers can get input directly from our team members, and we've got a number of different mechanisms that can take place, but they're also out there. They're visiting farmers markets. They're looking at trends that are going on and what customers are looking for in that particular community. And they're part of our category management team. And so one of the things that we've done with some of our restructure is help it make it easier for those products to get on shelf. And it's actually an area we're continuing to strive even higher in being able to move quickly and adjusting to the market and being able to make sure we can serve our customers for whatever they're looking for geographically.
Let's talk a little bit about prices, and not specifically Whole Foods, but there's obviously inflation right now. There's supply chain issues. There are labor issues that kind of every retailer, and I assume Whole Foods. On the labor side, in terms of labor supply, what are you seeing right now? What's the hardest thing for you to hire?
Anything in our prepared foods team. Our line cook positions, which is something that I would say not just in grocery, but I would say in restaurants, even in quick serve, it's been a really tough position to hire for.
And in terms of supply chain, there's obviously been a lot of extreme weather in the U.S. I mean, going back, and it seems like we're going to get that persistently. How does that impact you, and how does that impact the consumer ultimately at Whole Foods?
Yeah, it impacts us quite a bit. If you take just a good example is some of the floods that we've seen in California this year, both in January and here in March. It's had a tremendous impact on berries and leafy greens. And so a couple of challenges come. One is there's less product that's available. There's also challenges with the quality in certain cases. And so I mentioned earlier, our quality standards, they're not just about what we don't carry, but they're also the specs that we look for. And so in some cases, those specs aren't available. I constantly sometimes get the questions of, you may be out of stock or lower stock on this, or strawberries look like they weren't as nice as what they were 3 months ago. And a lot of that has to do with the available product. And our goal is always to make sure that we can hold to the highest standards and find alternatives for customers where there's challenges that come in, whether it's weather-related or other supply chain challenges.
Down the street today, we've been here, among others, Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks, has been testifying in part on union issues. Whole Foods is not unionized. The labor force is not, unlike, say, Kroger and Albertsons. And there's been talk about this in the past with Amazon, if a store wants to unionize, your response to it is what?
Well, one of the things that I think is great about Whole Foods Market is the direct connection that we have.
But they want to anyway, because they get pins and they get to throw a party at Christmas. They want to unionize. What do you do? At Starbucks, the argument is they've shut stores.
Yeah. I think the first thing we'd be doing is wanting to connect with our team members and have an understanding of sort of what they're looking for and why. But, I kind of go back to what I was saying is we feel our best opportunity is having a direct connection to our team members. And it's something that's been embedded in our culture for the last 43 years. I worked with a lot of retailers in my past career, and I've never seen the connection of what we have with our store team members across the board. Our open door policy, where team members can take conversations all the way up to me around a challenge that they have. team member connection meetings that we do, which I participate in on a regular basis. It helps inform the opportunities that we have as a company and decisions that we make to make sure that we have a great team member experience. And when we recently unveiled our future vision in January, Growing with Purpose, one of the biggest parts about that was improving our team member experience, the growth and happiness for them. And so much of it came from the different mechanisms that we have for our team members to be able to provide feedback. Final question to you, a quick one. Give me one product that is sold somewhere at a Whole Foods store that most people probably don't know about but is delicious. Oh, there are so many. No, but you only have to pick one. Whoever makes this is going to be pretty psyched by what you say here. I'll get into a lot of trouble for this one, for sure. But a favorite of mine right now, I mostly eat a plant-based diet for like breakfast, lunch, and occasionally at dinners I move to seafood or other meat products. But Misha's, which is the brand, creates an amazing vegan cheese that we carry in our SOPAC region. And I was just recently there, and it was something I bought and a treat that I get to have when I'm over there. Jason, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, take care. Thanks.